we have, to begin, you'll come in over on the side. There'll be not 5 pieces of paper, just one. An assessment that you're going to pick up. You're going to go, and we'll deal with the calculators in a minute, but see those calculators over in the back? You're probably going to grab one of those, and we'll go over. You're going to sign into them. We'll show you how to do that before you leave today. You're going to take one of each of those, grab a seat, get started. Every day you have an assessment. The assessment's going to be 3 to 5, maybe sometimes a little bit more. Most of the time multiple choice or quick to do questions based on what we've done either the day before exactly or within the unit or something that we've covered so far. So the stuff that you did today was a little bit of a push algebraically. It's probably way more algebra than you were doing in geometry, but that's fine. And I just need to see sort of where you stand, how good you are coming in. By no means does it mean this is... So every day you're going to take the assessment, then you're going to get that done. You got about 5 to 10 minutes. You can gain a couple minutes if you get here before everybody else. But that's the expectation that you'll get those done to begin every day. Every day that we do is kind of the same, but we're not doing tons of different stuff for... Yes. Oh yeah, we'll go. You're going to then go through, we'll do some notes, and if we have time at the end, we'll do some homework. Sporadically, we'll put you in groups, but there's not a ton of it. As far as what you need for the class, one of the things that we have to do is give you some book to go through and work from. That's more of a district policy. But the books that they have for the Common Core are generally terrible. So you'll get some access code 401. So see this giant packet here that we picked up? Okay, that's like 7 days worth of our class, and this is stuff that myself and about 3 or 4 other teachers from across the state, guy that we work with in Albany, one in Harrison, one in Syracuse, and one at Southern. So we come up with our own stuff, and it's really, really good. You need a binder big enough to hold that. That's your notes and homework for the entire unit. So keep in mind, when we talk about getting a binder for class, there tends to be, I guess I'd get one that's a little bit on the bigger side. You're going to have about 14 of those by the end of the quarter. So if you want to empty them halfway through and leave them at home, that's fine. But get something big enough to hold your papers. If you ever need it, underneath the calculators on the side, there's still stacks of loose leaf paper under there, guys? Yeah, if you ever need loose leaf paper, there's tons of it over on the side. You can just go grab one from there. One of the things that I do find a little bit comical, in life, I think that probably the bravest people are in the middle. And then like right underneath them is the policeman and fireman. And then underneath those people, the third bravest people in the world are people who do math and count. I have 8 years of post-secondary mathematics, which means 8 years of math after high school. I still do math and pencil all the time. If you want to get an eraser, here's another thing that some of you, especially, you're going to make mistakes in this class. It happens. If you don't make a mistake, you're probably not doing it right. One thing that these erasers, like on these guys, they hold up pretty well, but what's the problem with these? I don't think that these ones smudge as bad as, where's the yellow? Let me get the yellow. Yeah, like these guys. Sometimes these guys are smudgers. They make the problem worse. These guys, the white erasers tend to do well, but what's the problem with these small ones? To run out, yeah. These, I think they're like 3 for $1. You go over to Regents or something like that, you can grab a bunch of them. They make it so there's no smudges and stuff when you erase. But I can't more strongly advise you to go through and do math and pencil. You will make, this year for a lot of you, I guess there's going to be a little bit more push than you've had in the past. I look at EWOC, frankly, as my favorite challenge. I remember 2 or 3 years ago, I even had a group of algebra, I had a group of algebra Regents kids that nobody here would, let's say, wanted to go through it. They'd all failed the class once before. I like getting people to do way more than they thought they could. We got that year, I want to say 70% of the kids at Schrager failed the algebra 2 exam 2 years ago. And out of the 14 kids that I have in that class, 13 of them passed the exam. Now, not only am I going to get you to pass the exam, I want you to have the best average out of all the kids in Schrager. That's my percentage. And I will squeeze every bit of talent out of everyone. The work that we do, and this tends to be a little bit of a disconnect from what happened before. Are you going to get pushed in here? Absolutely. I'm not going to give you stuff that you can't do, and I don't want to ruin it. There's 4 math operations. There's add, subtract, multiply, and divide. There's nothing in there. That's it. We're going to be doing some variation of that. But I hope this year that I'm able to get the best out of every single one of you. And one of the things that comes up, I guess we'll say it this way. Raise your hand if you didn't feel confident leaving the GEO Regents exam last year. It's fine if you didn't. There's no judgment. And don't. This is another thing. You all, I don't know if we're thinking like that there's some pop-up deodorant check or something. This, for when you're up here trying to see people, like I can't see around you. It's like, this isn't a hands up like this is. So who here, nice and confident, don't hide. Who here left the GEO exam going, oh my God, I did so. Now, not that I'm a bragger, but I'm going to show you, literally after the Algebra 2 Regents exam this year, I sent every kid that I had a message that said, tell me how you thought you did on that exam. Because the GEO kids last year, shockingly, at the same thing, I thought I had 90s all quarter, and then shockingly I got a 60 on that exam. Let's say this. Is there anybody in here, and we own it, we don't judge, that your Regents grade was maybe 10-ish points or more lower than your 4-quarter average? Is there anyone? Is anybody that was like 15 points? We can own it. We're not judging. Nice and high. More than 15, like 20? It's about 15. I can assure you, I do the numbers every year. You know how far off my kids were? Instead of being minus 10, minus 15, they were minus 1.3. That's it. They got a 90. They got high 80s on that exam. And the reason is, and it comes up in a minute, we'll talk about all of the grade inflation that you all have. So make sure, please, and we'll go over the calculators. Oh, that's the other thing. The calculators that you all have from over on the side over there, I don't need you to bring your own Inspire calculator in if you have one every day, by any means. Those things are expensive. They grow legs. People steal them. We'll give you one every single day. At the beginning of class 2, when you come over and you pick them up, make sure you take a look at the back of them, because every one of them has a number on it, and I'll probably start getting yours in now. See how the back, like this says max 17 on the back, right? That means it's calculator number 17. That means that when you go to put the calculator back, see how the slots are numbered? So guess what number it should be in? 17. And this person put it in 21. So is it in the right spot? Is it irritating? Make sure, please, when you set them back in, that they're in the right spot, and you set it in until there's a little green light on the side. That goes on and it charges it for the kids in the next class. I don't make you bring your own calculator in. We may ask you to bring them in. If you want to bring your own, you can. But we may ask you to bring them in for the Regents exam. That's pretty much it. Some of you may be more familiar with it than others. That's fine. I probably know less about the calculator even than you. But we'll show you why and how we go through and use what we're working with. Do you have one question? You can, but I ask that you use these. We'll see why in a minute. If you need my email, that's there. The other thing is, and this is a little bit of a departure, you all, absences happen, lessons happen, all of that stuff, it happens. I don't care why. I stopped asking why. It could be everything from a funeral to getting your driver's license. I don't care why you're not here. I mean, if it's for a funeral, you have my condolences, but that's it. We have a class webpage, and every class that we do is screencast, so you get the full video and audio of every class. If you go to youtube.com/mathfest Mr. Mac, it works on your phones as well. You go to this page here, and for the last 6 years, every single lesson that I've done is there. You find one for the day that you missed. We index them, you go over and you hit videos. And these are the ones so far. So this was, it tells you sort of when, and they sort them by most recent, I think. Yeah, I guess I'd go to newest added or something like that, and it'll show you. There should be some there from this year, but it literally lists out whichever one is there. You may have to click around a little bit. If you get stuck, send me an email, and I'll forward you the link itself. But if you ever miss for any reason, it's the expectation, and you don't get out of tests, the assessment, whatever it is. Just because you're not here doesn't mean you're sort of off the hook. You're still going to have to take the assessment, so it's to your benefit to go through and watch what we do. If you get stuck at home doing homework, you're going, oh, we did an example like that, but I didn't hear what he was saying, or I drifted for a little bit. That's fine. Just go back and watch what we did. What else we have to get through? Different. The biggest thing is, as far as your grade is weighted, which in the beginning means there's going to be tons of fluctuation, but over time it levels out. 50% of your grade are tests and quizzes. 50% is tests, 30% of quizzes, and 20% of your daily assessments. And we'll make it clear, there's very seldom do we do extra credit, and there are no test corrections, test retakes, blah, 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 blah. Here's the reason why. The people that are doing test corrections are actually doing it wrong. When you take, who did test corrections? One of the reasons that those grades get profoundly inflated is because of test corrections. The reason is, if you're actually doing it, what did they have you do? Like write out a narrative as to why you missed the question or something like that? They redo the question and then write out like, oh, I'm an idiot, I forgot this, or something like that, right? That's preparing you to answer that question again. And that's it. And is that question again, are you ever going to get it again? No. You've already been tasked with doing it. So congratulations, they taught you how to answer something that literally will not come up again. I don't get why people, like, it's mind-numbingly dim why you would approach it that way. Instead, what you have, I think of it like the temperature in Rochester. If I were to try to figure out what the average temperature or the weather in Rochester is, if I showed up once and I took a reading of the temperature, let's say I showed up January 1st and December 1st, and I took the temperature on those 2 days, would I have a good idea of what the weather in Rochester is like? No. What could I do to get a better reading on what the temperature in Rochester would be like? I want to make it more accurate. Measure it more often. So instead of doing it twice a year, I could maybe do it 12 times a year. And if I really wanted to get it right, how many times a year would I probably do it? Every day. So instead of going through and faking and be like, oh, well, you know, this person had a busy week that week, so they might have done done poorly on one thing that we graded, and you've got 4 grades for the quarter, that's ridiculous. In here every day, you're going to have at least one thing graded. So when the end of quarter 1 comes around, you're going to have about 45 grades. Here's the other end of it. Are you going to take assessments that you fail? Yes. Everyone will at some point. It's inevitable. Will you take some that you get a 100 on by total dumb luck? Yes. And over time, those things average up. So that's why we don't go through and do test corrections. If you're getting a bunch of grades that are in the 80s, and then one grade that's like a 90, you're probably still going to be in the 80s. And if you get a bunch of grades in the 50s, and then get one like 75 on a test, are you still passing? You're not. You got to bring it sort of every day. And that's why we do it, because I don't like fluke grades, but the other end of it, and this is the other piece. This happened to a couple of kids last year. It was only in the first quarter, but they did poorly on the first exam. So let's say they got like a 60. And then the next 2 exams, they got 80s and like 83 or something like that. Now, am I going to sit there and look at that and say, well, you got 4 tests. One's a 60, one's an 80, one's an 82, one's an 85. Do all of those really say the same thing? There's one that's an outlier. The 60 is an outlier. So literally, I hit right click and drop. That's fine. I'm not going to sit here and do test corrections and all of that other garbage. Instead of, faking. By the way, the other thing I love about test corrections, and you can be honest, it's never who went and found somebody who got the question right and copied that? Only the others. See? Yeah. See? It happens. Are test corrections a farce? We're going to be honest with you the whole way. But you're going to do amazing. I really think that we're going to do good. So that's as far as that goes for test corrections. That's pretty much it. I'm going to sign up for this now. this was the stuff that the kids said to remember for you all last year. So they wanted you to know, yes, you really have an assessment every day. There's not that much extra credit. The tests count for a lot. That's your Super Bowl. All of the work that we're doing in here is just regular practice for those events. Those are when you need to peak. Very seldom will I actually collect and grade homework. That's another thing. And this is where some of you, the disconnect and where I get a little bit nervous, even with some of you getting close to college. If I'm not checking the homework, does that mean you don't need to do it? Which is no. I still advise you all to do the questions that we give out. And sometimes it will be collected. One of the things that I used to do is if I saw kids copying the homework, and so I used to do lunch duty. If I saw people copying the homework during lunch duty, I wouldn't collect. Just listen. And if I didn't see people, like 1 out of every 5, maybe I would go through and collect. And just give a grade. Did you do it? 5 points. But if you did your homework, the homework is practice designed to help you do better on the assessment the next day. So that's why they're assigned to you. I'm an incredibly competitive person. Like last year, our 4 sections, my 4 sections of Enriched, the 2 sections of Enriched were Thomas for the first time ever, which was a huge victory for me. You all, I want to have the highest grades at Schrader, and maybe I'll even find out. We'll even see when we beat the section of Thomas too. But I want you to do great work all the time. Make sure you understand what it is too, because that goes back to that test corrections baloney. You sit there, I'm not going to ask you the same question over and over. So focus on understanding the process. You're going to get questions wrong. You will struggle at times. That's fine. It happens. We'll all get over it together. And if you miss, make sure, or if there's anything you're confused on, go back and watch it again. What we'll ask you to go through and do now is this. Let's have the first 2 rows, slide over please, and pick up a calculator over on the back and just grab a seat. And once those guys are done, we'll send you 2 rows over. All right, so you 2 rows, slide over and grab one, please. Now, none of you, at least from the other kids, have you had a teacher that asked you to log into these before or no? Yeah? Now raise your hand if you did. Okay. Some of you did, some of you haven't. When everybody gets back to your seat, this is why we ask you to use these calculators, because they hook up to our system. There's a lot of days even where I'll use this, the fact that you've logged in to go through and take your attendance. So what we need you to do to start is to hit the on button, so you're looking at the black home screen, and then we need you to hit to log into the calculator. The easiest way to do it is to press 5 twice. You can actually just hit the keyboard 5 twice. Now, there should be a screen up there, and it should look blank, something like this, right? Now, is there anybody who has the login button grayed out? Okay, if you come in and for some reason the login button is grayed out, you just need to reset the calculator. Don't do this now. You can do it later if it's not there. Literally turn it over. See how there's that little button there? You take the tip of a pen or a pencil, and we're not asking, some of us I think would even need therapy sessions, how violently they do this. You just need to tap it, okay? You don't need to stab the calculator with the pencil. That's actually not good for it. Just tap it with it, and it'll reset, and then reboot, and you should be able to log in. Now, everyone's login name is going to be different. Your login is going to be the first letter of your first name and then your last name. So Bob Smith would log in would be B. Smith. It doesn't matter if it's capitalized or not. And then your password, this is very difficult, is 1, 2, 3, 4. You may need to write that down. Password is 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, when you have logged in, you'll notice that your name goes from being italicized and gray to being black and upright. Is there anybody on here whose name isn't on that list? Because sometimes our numbers special. So, it looks like everybody is logged in and or about logged in. If you are having, is anybody having an issue logging in? Okay. So every day when you come in, home screen 55, D Smith, and 1234 gets you logged in. The reason that we do that is so everyone understands why you're doing what you're doing. This right now is all of your work screens. Everyone in here right now. And I don't ever type on the calculator. I always take someone's calculator and project it up there. Like right now, I can't see whose calculator is there. Okay? And it refreshes every 15 seconds. What we'll have you all do now is this. So go in right now. Most of you have this. It's a terrible habit. Go in when you need to do calculations. Some of you use this over here for scratch pad. Stop. Right? So don't go through and do the use a document. Get used to using that. You don't need to save any documents that are in there, but you do need to go through and log in. Or sorry, once you've logged in, go into new document, and always get yourself a new document as opposed to Scratchpad. Here's one thing too that will go through and happen. Go in right now. Go into Scratch, and this is a way that will probably irritate you. I always do it during the first or second test because I specifically say don't use Scratchpad. Go into Scratchpad right now and start doing just some math. Start doing, this plus this or whatever, multiplying together. And keep doing it, and what we can go through and do, and the way that we'll make sure you're not using Scratchpad, and again, it happens during the tests as well, so I'll literally press this, and all of a sudden, what happened to all of your screens? Okay, we deleted all of the work that's there. Now, the reason that we need you to be working in documents is in the future, like the classes that you're going to take beyond this, but even in this class, Scratchpad is literally like junk paper. Like it doesn't, sometimes we'll need a value that you got from a calculation. If you're in Scratchpad, you can't do it. It's sort of like a kiddie play area. It's not actually using the functions of the calculator. So make sure when you go through and use it that you're always working in documents. Do you have questions on that? Okay. I'm trying to think of what else we have to go through and get to. I guess the biggest thing, and let's see, maybe this one's it. These were the notes that the kids left last year. I'll try to find the ones that were about the Regents exam before we go. This was their advice to you. Stuff that was pretty common. One of the best. Who did Kahoot last year? Yeah, that's never happening again. I don't want to ruin it for you. We do actual math as opposed to like, computer game. Don't worry, we'll do some different stuff, but we don't sit there and do Kahoot. And by the way, notice the correlation. Raise your hand if you played Kahoot last year. Nice and high. We're not doing a deodorant check. There you go. Now, okay. And who here scored lower on their lower on the Regents exam than their 4 quarters? Raise your hand. It's almost like those things match up, kind of. Like we should be doing more math instead of randomly pressing like red triangle or something like that and finding out the worst name we can get away with posting in the room. One of the things, let's see there's one on here, I can't remember. It's one who mentions like toothpaste. Yeah, here. This was my favorite one because they kept, there we go. Yeah, the kids mentioned that we don't touch food. The big stuff, I guess, I'll find the one on there. You really do, their advice, is it going to be hard work? Yes. Should you sit there and worship your grade? No. That does no one any good. We're going to get you so much better at the end than you are in the beginning. But it's going to take a lot, and it's a struggle. The biggest thing that we sometimes will have a difference with is how much you're going through and willing to put in. Because sometimes people want like a 90 or a 95 for like literally existing in the depths. That's not a thing. And I remember there was one last year who almost cried. And I get the frustration, but their go-to way to get extra credit was, I have an 87, and I need to get a 90. Now, is there any difference really between a kid getting an 87 and a 90? No. They said, and their go-to reaction wasn't, can I do another test or something like that? Can you make like a cumulative test that I can go through and take? Their response was, what if I brought in cupcakes for you? How the hell does that have anything to do with math? Like I really mightily struggled with that. And she's going, and I literally had this confused look, and she goes, there's circuits. And the frontal part of your brain starts to die when you're trying to process a comment that is so disconnected from reality. Like, I'm not doing well, so to make up for it, I will bring you food. Like, that's what happens to my dog when he does well. Like, I give him like a cookie. You all are a little bit better than dogs, I'm hoping. And if not, I totally can bring in Oreos and throw them at you. And, if you go potty, oh, that's another thing. If there's any biological function that's happening to you and you need to leave the room, there's an orange pack there. By and large, how old are you? Like 16-ish? Is that right? Okay. I don't need to know what you're leaving the room to do, nor does anybody else. You can sort of discreetly go and you grab it and you go and you, whatever needs to happen. And hopefully you wash your hands. You come back and get going again. You don't need to know that you're going to the bathroom. Where do you need to ask? There's one pack there. Somebody's out. Wait till they come back. Or if it's an emergency, you can go to the ones across the hall. But you don't need to go through and ask to go to the bathroom. I'm trying to find it. The one, yeah, and the other one was, a lot of them said, don't, so they kept equating me, and I didn't know why. One kid kept calling me a tuber, T-U-B-E-R. Tuber. I go, some people when they have the toothpaste and there's that little bit in the corner, some people throw that away. And she goes, I'm guessing that at home, you sit there, and if there's even a little bit in the corner that you can get out, you squeeze and you'll waste all of this time to get one, half serving of toothpaste. And actually, I do that at home. And they go, because that's exactly what you do to us. You're like, I literally feel squeezed and oppressed, but at the end of the day, that's what's going to make you better. Nobody gets better by staying in your comfort zone. You're going to have to get pushed a little bit. Are you going to have times when you feel like you hit a wall? Absolutely. Now, take all of that stuff and set it to the side. We'll get a couple minutes worth of... here's another thing, just so you know. I came up with this particularly for you guys because factoring is a topic that you all tend to struggle with terribly. When you start off. And the teachers at Spry and the administrators aren't that great at teaching you how to go through and factor. So I made you a list, and it's a check-down list. And you literally start at 1, and you go to the end. Need one? So the first thing you always look for is a greatest common factor. And that's what it looks like. You take something out. Common factor means everything in there is divisible by that. In this example, everything in there you can take out a 3m. That's the first thing. Second thing you look for is the difference of perfect squares. So the left side and the right side are perfect squares in those examples. You take the square root of the left plus or minus the square root of the right. You've done fast factoring. You tend to be really good at this. You use that when the leading coefficient is 1. You need numbers that multiply to the end and add to the middle. And the rest of them you really haven't done yet. We're going to get to the rest of them today. But as of now, you should be able to do 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to bounce over quickly to our notes. We're not going to by any means get it. The other thing that you all need to be aware of, those of you in here, who here is a sophomore or junior? I think we have a couple of seniors. But those sophomores and juniors, it's extra important. I will mercilessly push you to get an 83. That is, for some reason, a profoundly important number. If you score an 83 or above, next year when you take pre-calculus, you can take it for 4 college credits. And it costs like $200, but you will buy this class for $5,600. You get 4 college credits. And if you're going to take the class anyways, if you get an 83, you get it for college credit. So like if you were to go to, let's say, Fisher, your first year there, you walk in with 4 math credits just from that class, or just from pre-calculus. That's it. That's why an 83 is really, really, really important. So for our stuff today, we're not going to get much done, but take a look, please, at the first one, where it asks you to go through and identify what the greatest common factor. So open your note, pack it up. Take a look at that first question. And hands up, please. We'll see if we can get 5 of you. Look at 1A. Hands up, please, when you can tell me what the GCF in 1A would be. Take a look at what's there. What can you divide out? And it's okay if that's another thing that gets very irritating. Some of us act as if, like, if you don't get the right answer, that's some judgment of your self-worth. It really isn't. You're fine. What's our GCF for the first one going to be? Go ahead. 9. What's left when you divide out the 9? So put 9 and then parentheses, z minus 2. That's our first one that you should be able to go through and do. And that hopefully is kind of easy for you. What about take a look at question 2A. Hands up, please, you can tell me what your GCF is going to be there. Hands up, please, you can tell me. Look at question 2A. Example 2A. What's your GCF going to be there? Yes. What's left when you divide out? Oh, sorry. He's close. He said 3x. Very, very close. 3x squared, yeah. That's the biggest one. Now, what's left when you divide out a 3x squared? Hands up, please, if you can tell me before we go. What can we get? What's left when we take a 3x squared? Go ahead. Keep going. There's more than that.
EMCC.
What else do we have?
EMCC, please.
We got 3x plus 4x. I'm going to ask you this. Your homework for tonight, hopefully this will be easy. I'll actually give it to you an easy one. Just please do, let's have you do 1 through 13. Go over on page 2 at the bottom. Just do 1 through 13, and you can do it right in that packet. You can do it right in there. Sorry we ran so late, but thank you very much for bearing with me. Make sure, loves, you put your calculators back, and if you can put them in the right spot, that would be even better. Make sure you push it down till the green light goes on. Does anybody need one of these sheets? Does anybody not get one? All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Yes.
I have a question.
Yep.
I'm Julia Schiff.
Hi.
I'm taking senior classes this year so I can graduate.
Okay.
And so I signed up for the SAT in October.
Okay.
I think it's like the 14th or 17th or something. And I've been taking the practice tests, and I feel like the algebra is all algebra 2, and I don't really know it. So is there any way you could like tutor me after school or something?
Here's my advice to you. My problem is, if it was regular math, I would say sure. The issue is that SAT math is so different. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like regular equations, and there's like a lot of process involved from what I remember about it. Check with somebody down in the guidance office, and I can get for you a tutor that I believe has some experience with doing it for Thomas, if you would like.
Okay. Yeah.
I just don't personally, I'm not comfortable enough. SAT is kind of high stakes.
Yeah.
So I'm not like an all-star at that. I want you to make sure you were with someone who was an all-star.
Because I'm trying to do like early decision and early action and get that done
Yeah.
so I can apply like now.
And that's why you want to make sure you get, I can get you somebody if you want.
Can I come talk to you after school quickly?
Yeah, we actually have a meeting today. Even if you want at the end of class tomorrow, I think we can talk.
Okay.
Okay?
Sounds great. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
So I took intermediate algebra last year.
Okay, with Miss Bailey.